Coming up, the fallout from the Oval Office blow-up between Presidents Trump and Zelensky continues. And where to from here on the road to peace? President Trump speaks about some of his issues with President Zelensky. As you will see, much of the very significant difference relates to the issues of ceasefire and security guarantees.
We had a meeting today, as you know, with President Zelensky, and I would say it didn't work out exactly great from his standpoint. I think he very much overplayed his hand. We're looking for peace. We're not looking for somebody that's going to sign up a strong power and then not make peace because they feel emboldened, and that's what I saw happening. I'm looking for peace. We're not looking to go into a 10-year war and play games. We want peace. And it was just my impression that if we do that, if we sign up, he's looking for something that I'm not looking for. He's looking to go on and fight. We're looking to end the death.
Donald Trump's perspective is that what Zelensky is looking for is unadulterated support from the US, which will strengthen Ukraine's hand, and so Zelensky will continue the war. Trump is looking to end the war and so go into negotiations in a way that does not, in effect, give Ukraine the confidence to carry on the war for however long. Then we have Zelensky's view on the idea of a ceasefire.
I said that I think so, that ceasefire, and you know Putin, he broken 25 times ceasefire during all these years, 10 years. So
I can completely understand Zelensky's paranoia here, and I completely agree with the issues of Putin's lack of trustworthiness. However, I think Zelensky is not recognizing the massive security that Ukraine has as a result of 3 years of fighting. Think of it this way. Do you think Putin, back in February of 2022, knowing what he knows now, would have embarked on this war? The answer is clear. He wouldn't. The cost would have been too high. Unlike the invasion of Crimea and the Russians fomenting instability in the Donbass, in this case, Putin knows what would happen if he tried it on with Ukraine again. And the answer from the perspective of the Russians is not pretty. Putin was like an emboldened schoolyard bully prior to the invasion in 2022. The schoolyard bully is incentivized to continue his behavior due to the lack of repercussions. A few good punches to the nose of a schoolyard bully will have the bully in future having a different calculation on the cost-benefit ratio of that continued behavior. Trump then talks ceasefire.
They should have an immediate ceasefire. That was the other thing he didn't want to do about ceasefire. A ceasefire could take place immediately. A contract, if you want to end the war, you sign up an agreement. That's going to take a period of time. It takes time. I want it to end immediately. And I think if you had a ceasefire, it would be a ceasefire, a real one, that would end it. But he doesn't want to do that. That's fine. Do a better deal. I want it to end immediately. I want a ceasefire now. He says, oh, I don't want a ceasefire. Well, all of a sudden, he's a big shot because he has the U.S. on his side. Either we're going to end it or let him fight it out. And if he fights it out, it's not going to be pretty. Because without us, he doesn't win, let me tell you. It doesn't matter what I'm considering. I'm just telling you. You saw what I saw today. That was not a man that wanted to make peace. And I'm only interested if he wants to end the bloodshed. Thank you very much, everybody.
This, once again, shows the significant difference in perspectives between Trump and Zelensky, and I'm entirely with Trump here. Trump wants an immediate ceasefire without preconditions relating to security guarantees and so on. In my view, Zelensky is concerned that if there were a ceasefire without security guarantees, that the security guarantees would never come about. I don't think that is the case. But as I've indicated, with the magnificent bravery and performance of the Ukrainian troops on the field of battle, they have created their own security guarantee. Trump's point is that detailed, complete peace agreements take a long time to complete, whereas a ceasefire can take place immediately. If you enjoy this content, please like, share and subscribe. Zelensky stresses his views on security guarantees.
To sign this document, and we are ready for this, and this will be the first step to security guarantees, but it's not enough. I think so. Maybe I don't know something. I don't know some details. That's why I wanted to share it with the president, my thoughts, and to hear him again, because he has a plan how to stop Putin. And maybe, as I said, maybe it's out of big conversations, but we have to share it. You know, this is so sensitive, you know, just a ceasefire without security guarantees. This is so sensitive for our people.
Zelensky here makes very clear that he has no interest in a ceasefire without security guarantees. This is a very significant difference, and one that ultimately I believe that Zelensky will have to come to the party on. I think Trump's assessment on this is correct. Zelensky wants to continue the war in the absence of a security guarantee. However, he wants American promises of support and supplies of military equipment, which will serve to make Zelensky feel emboldened in continuing the kinetic aspect of the war. Zelensky continues.
So, it's about just and lasting peace. It means that we have to be very strong at the table of negotiations, and at these negotiations, Ukraine and Russia, like sides of this war, have to be, and the United States and Europe. That's what I said. So we are ready for peace, but we have to be in strong position. What does it mean? Just to know that our army is strong, that our partners with us, and that we have security guarantees. Am I not right?
Zelensky talks about being very strong, which is what Trump is concerned about as far as potentially continuing the war is concerned, as opposed to being very strong and implementing a ceasefire, but going into negotiations in a strong position. Zelensky also wants all parties at the negotiating table, presumably immediately. Assuming he is feeling very put out by Trump negotiating independently with Putin. I had a discussion about this with a friend from Europe who is similarly inclined to Zelensky, and he said that anyone could negotiate an agreement. My response was, and is, why haven't they? Either Ukraine, any of the European powers, or indeed Biden. They have, after all, had 3 years. Trump's view, and I agree, is that he has the best relationship of anyone with Putin, and so can have initial discussions to find out precisely what Putin is prepared to find acceptable, as opposed to what he wants, which obviously is all of Ukraine. Trump is in the best position to find out what this line is for Putin. Putin would not feel that he could concede anything if all parties are at the table initially. The initial understanding will then form the basis for discussions with all parties, after also ascertaining what Zelensky's position is as far as what Ukraine is prepared to accept. Zelensky continues on security guarantees.
Just stop. Nobody will stop, because everybody afraid that Putin will come back tomorrow. We want just and lasting peace. It's true. We want security guarantees. We raise this topic about NATO the quickest way, but not all the countries are on this side. I said, okay, if not NATO, nobody is pushing. If not NATO, let's build NATO in Ukraine. That's my position. Europeans are ready to have contingents on our territory, boots on the ground. United States thinks maybe to have.
And just in case anyone is uncertain about the divide between Trump and Zelensky, here it is laid out. I've stated my view on this, but you can see what Zelensky sees as an acceptable security guarantee. NATO membership or something close to it. This is a very significant difference. Watch.
How the United States will give us security guarantees, what kind of and what part of volume of security guarantees. And when we will be ready with this, we will come to diplomacy to diplomacy. Yes, with Russians, Europeans, United States, and we, four of us. I think this is real way, because with weapon, it's too long, it's not enough. We don't have enough weapon to push them out, and we don't see now, for now, we don't see really big volume of new support from the United States, but with all respect again. So for today, we'll be ready with security guarantee. Really, when I say NATO, it's not about that we are focusing on this word. It's about very understandable infrastructure of security guarantees.
Zelensky makes clear that he will not engage in diplomacy without a security guarantee. He talks about when he is ready, which seems to be very much on the never-never. Ultimately, I think Zelensky is going to have to accept a ceasefire and then look at security guarantees in terms of the negotiations on an agreement or peace treaty following the ceasefire. Secretary of State Marco Rubio talks about some of the issues.
We just heard from President Zelensky. He said he does not think that he owes President Trump an apology for what happened inside the Oval Office today. Do you feel otherwise?
I do, because you guys don't see, you guys only saw the end. You saw what happened today. You don't see all the things that led up to this. So let me explain. The president's been very clear. He campaigned on this. He thinks this war should have never started. He believes, and I agree, that had he been president, it never would have happened. Now here we are. He's trying to bring an end to this conflict. We've explained very clearly what our plan is here, which is we want to get the Russians to a negotiating table. We want to explore whether peace is possible. They understand this. They also understand that this agreement that was supposed to be signed today was supposed to be an agreement that binds America economically to Ukraine, which to me, as I've explained, and I think the president alluded to today, is a security guarantee in its own way, because we're involved. It's now us. It's our interests.
Rubio laid out some of the history of the discussions on ending the war and Ukraine's behaviour. He is frustrated. The US wants to get Russia to the negotiating table. Rubio talks about having significant economic interests in Ukraine being a security guarantee in its own way. I agree, but what I said earlier applies even more so. It is the Ukrainian military's own performance which forms the strongest security guarantee for the future. After all, the Budapest Agreement of 30 years ago was supposed to be a security guarantee, among other things, and it turned out not to be worth the value of the sheets of paper it was written on. Rubio talks more on the frustrations that the US has with both the Ukrainian administration's behaviour and media complicity.
On what you just said a moment ago, are you saying that you have doubts that President Zelensky wants this war to come to an end?
What I have doubts about is whether he's willing to say and do the things that we need in order to get a negotiation. Again, you guys, this has been going on for 10 days. And, to see things in the press saying we're not coordinating with the Ukrainians, that's absolutely false. Over the last 10 days, the Ukrainians have met with the Secretary of Commerce, the Secretary of State, the Vice President of the United States, had a phone call with President Trump, and he was in the Oval Office today. I've talked to the Foreign Minister of Ukraine 3 times in the last 10 days. The argument that we're not engaging, but yet you keep reading these press accounts about, oh, well, they're leaving us out, we're not involved, we're not engaged. None of these things are true, and it continues. So all that led up to today in a deep sense of frustration.
Rubio is frustrated that messages are being put out that the US is not coordinating with or engaging with Ukraine. He lays out just how much engagement there has been. This is going to prove a very interesting standoff. Sadly, it will probably see many thousands of additional deaths on the battlefield completely needlessly while this continues, and there is not a ceasefire put in place. What do you think of this standoff? Please let me know in the comments below, and thanks for watching.